This you can really call a fish story. And I was the live bait.
This is another in the adventures of America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator, Johnny Dollar. At insurance investigation, Johnny Dollar is only an expert. At making out his expense account, he's an absolute genius.
When you tried to establish radio contact Tuesday morning, you couldn't raise them. Piece of wreckage and the bodies of two men were found Tuesday night, indicating that both boats were lost.
That's the story.
What made you so sure that both boats went down?
Because of those two men whose bodies were found, one sailed in the Nancy Walton, the other sailed in the Frank Walton. What more do you people want?
Just enough time to check everything thoroughly. You know, this wouldn't be the first time a shipwreck has been faked to collect insurance.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I guess the faster I get you satisfied, the faster I'll collect my money. Sorry I lost my temper, Dollar. I'll do everything I can. Send Captain Carpo in. Carpo's my fleet captain, Dollar. He can give you all the details. But I'm telling you, there aren't any more.
Well, one thing for sure, Mr. Walton. We can't blame it on the Pacific Ocean. According to my report, those boats sailed in fine weather.
That's right.
Call me, boss.
Yes, George, this is Mr. Dollar from the insurance company. He's here to investigate the sinking.
So?
I'm happy to meet you, too, Captain.
What do you want?
First, I want your theory as to what could have happened.
I don't know. I wasn't there. Maybe they run into each other.
As fleet captain, you hire the hands for the boats, don't you?
That's right.
Are you the kind of man that would hire the kind of skippers that run into each other in clear weather?
They were good skippers. Now you listen to me. I've been captain of this fleet for 5 years. First time we ever lose a boat to lose a man. You think we like this idea?
No, I don't, Captain Carpo. I don't think you like it any better than the insurance company likes the idea of losing $400,000. Well, at least if I find those sunken boats, that'll be salvage.
No, Mr. Dollar. That'll be a miracle.
The meeting busted up without me getting busted up, which was unusual in itself. And I hitched myself a ride out to an outfit who knows more about salt water than a Coney Island taffy maker, the U.S. Coast Guard. Enclosed find the statement of the commander of the station, Lieutenant Senior Grade Miles P. Endicott, Jr.
We have made thorough patrols using both air and surface craft. The bodies of the men recovered show signs that lead us to believe that they were blown clear of the lost ships by violent explosions.
All the lieutenant needed to say to make my eyes light up was that one word, explosion. Because in a marine insurance investigator's book, the word explosion sets off another word, scuttling. A widely used wet variety of fraud. In other words, blowing up your own ship to collect the insurance. And continuing this chain reaction, I followed the best available lead. The man in charge of the vessels involved, Captain George Carpo. I found him at 11 that night at a